Hi all, I'm going to go through the second part of probability for you, and that's the simple probability. Okay, first off we're going to look at the probability scale. We did cover this in the first video. So we've got impossible, even and certain. Okay, we can use numbers to describe these possibilities. So impossible is going to be zero chance of it happening. It's never going to happen. Okay, if certain is going to be out of 1. So every single time it happens, it's going to happen. So that will be a probability of 1. And even is going to be a half or 0.5. So key thing to note is that probability is always out of 1. Something happening is either going to be a 0, a 1, or any decimal or fraction in between. So if it was 0.1, it would be down here. If it was 0.9, it would be up here. So 0.9 is very often going to happen, but not always. Okay, so probability is always at a 1, really key point. We can put fractions in, so we've got a quarter, a half, 3/4. We could put decimals, so again 0.1, 0.2, 0.3 and so on. And you can see it says 0.1 very unlikely, 0.8 is quite likely. You can always also write them as percentages, so thinking about splitting this into percentages, you've got 10%, 20, 30, 40, 50 and so on. So 3 things you can write them in: decimals, fractions or percentage. So in this bag there are 10 sweets. Ryan takes 1 out and eats it. What's the probability? It is red. So we're going to count how many sweets there are that are red. So we've got 5 red sweets. So we've got 5 possible outcomes out of 10 sweets. So 5 out of 10 is half the sweets. So my probability is 0.5, a half, or 50%. What's the probability that it's blue then? So I've only got 3 sweets in the bag of 10. Okay, 3 out of 10 are blue. So I'm thinking 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, or 30%. What's the probability that it's white? There's only 2 white sweets, so if that was 5 and that was 3, this one here is going to be 2. So 0.2. 10 divided by 2. 2 divided by 10, sorry. Or 0.2. And that's where my white one's going to go. So if you want to have a go at this, feel free to stop the video and give it a go. And then start it up to see if you've got them right. A first 6-sided dice is rolled. What is the probability of rolling a 5? So there's 6 sides. And how many 5s are on a dice? Well, there's only 1. So there's a 1 in 6 chance. B, an even number. Well, even numbers on a dice, I've got 2, 4 and 6. So I've got 3 possible outcomes that would satisfy an even number. And there are 6 total outcomes that could happen. So 3 out of 6. Or 1/2. Now you don't need to simplify that down to a half. You can do. You're not going to lose marks if you do. But 3 out of 6 would also get you the marks. More than 2. So what numbers have I got more than 2? I've got 3, I've got 4, I've got 5, I've got 6. So I've got 4 possible outcomes that meet my criteria out of 6 total number of sides. And D, a multiple of 3. So on the dice I've got 3 and 6. Is the only 2 multiples of 3, and again I've got 6 faces. So the bottom number is all my total possible outcomes. So I've got 6 different numbers I could get, and my top number represents the number of numbers that meet the criteria that it's asking for. So an even number, 3, more than 2, there's 4 sides more than 2. A multiple of 3, there's 2 multiples of 3 on a dice. Drag the arrows to where they need to be. Well, the easiest one to start with is 3 out of 6, which is a half. 2 out of 6 is going to be about 1/3 of the way down here. 1 out of 6 is somewhere there. And 4 out of 6, again cutting it into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I could cut the line into 6 pieces and it would make it a lot easier for me to see where they go. Okay, again, if you want to stop the video, feel free to, and then see what the answers are. Okay, the probability of white. In here I've got 2 white sweets out of a total of 5. How many blue? 3 out of 5. Now, remember I said that probability is always out of 1. Now if we add these two together, if I add 2 and 3 together, that gives me 5. So that would give me 5 over 5. And 5 over 5 is just another way of writing 1. So when we're adding up probabilities in one event like this is, the two numerators will add up to the same as what the denominator is. So let's look at this one, see if we can do the same. We've got 3 white sweets, we've got 2 blue sweets, and we've got 2 red sweets. How many sweets have we got in total? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And if we add 3 plus 2 gives me 5, plus 2 gives me 7, that's going to give me the right answer. Okay, question 5. Now, this is a spinner. The sections are all equal in size. Each colour is equally likely to come up. Okay. So, if you spin it 15 times, how many of each colour would you expect to get? Well, if there's 5 of these, how many 5s go into 15? Hopefully you're saying 3 at the screen, because you're right. So let's see. Okay, is it what you expected? Now, if you're thinking they're equal sizes, you would expect to say 3, 3, 3, 3, and 3 would add up to 15. But we can see pink happens 5 times, blue happens 4 times, purple is what we would expect. Okay, so not really what we would expect. And you can see 1/5 of 15 is 3, so we would have expected 3 on each colour. Hopefully you can see that that's what we would have expected. It doesn't always work out exactly as you would expect, as it says there. The more you spin it, the more numbers should equal out. So if we spun that 1,500 times, we should come closer to the number that we would expect. It won't always work out, but the more numbers we spin, or more times we spin it, or more times we flip a coin, the more reliable our results will be. Okay, so again, we can see they've evened out a little. 150. We've got white and yellow is falling behind a little bit. 1,000 spins. But other than white, that looks quite... If we took what the extra on purple is and put it onto white, that would be pretty much fairly even. Okay, so that's what we would expect. The more the spins, the more reliable the results. Okay, here's another spinner. Some of the colours are repeated. There is an equal chance that the spinner will stop on each section. Now, drag the arrows, and again, if you want to stop the video, feel free to put your answers in and see how you get on. Drag the arrows to the correct place on the probability scale. What is the probability of it stopping on blue? Well, there's only one section out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1 out of 8. So if you think that's a quarter, half of a quarter is 1 out of 8. And it's going to be a 1 in 8 chance. Pink, I've got 3 out of 8. So 1 8, 2 8, 3 8. And then yellow, what have I got left? So 1 and 3 adds up to 4. So I should have 1, 2, 3, 4 sections left over. 4 out of 8, and 4 out of 8 is equivalent to a half. Yeah. Okay. And we're all done. On to 7. Fill in the probabilities for these spinners. 2 out of 4. 2 out of 4. Pink. 2 out of how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2 out of 6. Blue is 1 out of 6. And yellow is 3 out of 6. Remember, we do not have to simplify it if it's probability. It's one of the only times that you'll get away with not simplifying a fraction. On the last one, pink, I've got 5 sections out of 8. Blue, I've got 1 section out of 8. And 5 plus 1 gives me 6. So I should have 2 yellow sections, which I do. 2 out of 8. Okay. Give it a tick. On to 8. Tom has 2 spinners. On which spinner is he most likely to get pink? Now, if we look at B for a start, we've got 4 sections and they're equal sections. So we've got 2 out of 4. Okay, that's a 1 in 2 chance. 2 out of 4, if we simplify, is 1 out of 2, so it's a half a chance. Half the time it's going to land on pink. What about this one? If we brought this pink section around to here, we can see that's my half a spinner, but I'm only going to have 3 pink sections, which is less than 4 out of 8. So I'm going to be B. 3 sections out of 8 are pink on spinner A. It isn't quite half of them. Half of spinner B is pink, so Tom is more likely to get pink on spinner B. And the last question, Ashley says I'm more likely than Ellen to spinner 3. On paper, write down reasons why Ashley is correct. Then click next to check your answers. So on here, I've got 1 3. On here, I've got 1 3. So there's only one chance that I could spin a 3. But here I've got 6 possible outcomes. So that's 1 out of 6. And on this one, it's 1 out of 8 possible outcomes. Okay. So 1 out of 6, 1 out of 8. 1 out of 6 is a bigger probability than 1 out of 8. A larger proportion of Ashley's spinner is the number 3. So this is the better chance. Because if I spun it 6 times, I would expect to get this number 3 once. If I span this 6 times, I might get 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7 and still not get my 3 because I've not used all the numbers up. Okay. We are both equally likely to spin an even number. So let's think about the even numbers on this one. 2, 4, 6. I've got 3 out of 6 numbers. 3 out of 6, which if I simplify is going to be a half. So I've got half the time I'm going to get an even number. What about Ellen's spinner? 2, 4, 6, 8. I've got 4 even numbers out of 8. And again, if I simplify 4 out of 8, hopefully you're screaming at the screen to say that's a half. So let's go. So there is the probability of an even number is 1/2 on both spinners. So 2 or 3 things to remember. Firstly, probability is always out of 1, between 0 and 1. To write probability, you can use fractions, decimals, or percentages. Only use the worded answers certain, impossible, likely, unlikely, and even chance if it asks for worded answers. And the other thing is, you're thinking about probability. The top number of your fraction is how many times will it happen that it's asking for. So in this case, how many times will it land on an even number? And your answers are 3, 2, 4 and 6. So that's going to be my top number on my fraction, and the bottom number is going to be how many possible outcomes are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 possible outcomes on Ashley's spinner in this case. So top number is how many times will it happen, the thing that I actually want. Bottom number is going to be how many possibilities.